So this morning I would like to go over a bunch of the lessons that I learned yesterday from the shit show of a day yesterday. I made a video yesterday kind of just processing through stuff, and I just ended up deleting that because I was sleep deprived and I wasn't making a lot of sense, and it was just mainly needed to have a vehicle to vent, I suppose. So to begin this video, I suppose I'll kind of talk about what happened yesterday. So I'm currently on my way to go see Dan and Bryant and eventually Jason up in Colorado to hang out with them, which is going to be awesome. But the plan was that I would show up to pick up Dan or to pick up Bryant today or yesterday in Denver, and then take him to Dan's house in Fort Collins, and then we would go skiing slash snowboarding today together up in Winter Park. However, yesterday morning, what happened was as I was kind of driving through Ogallala, I ran into some car issues, and it was like probably 30 minutes outside of Ogallala. I could tell that my engine was having issues. It felt like it couldn't shift gears, is how I put it. I really have no clue about anything with vehicles, so that was my guess, is that I was having trouble shifting gears. It felt like it was hiccuping whenever I'd get to like 70 miles per hour. So I had to slow down, and I was like calling mechanics trying to get it in somewhere so that somebody could see what was going on and hopefully fix it. And I eventually got a mechanic to look at it in Ogallala. And the issue was a problem with one of the coil packs on apparently one of the cylinders. And because of that, the cylinder was misfiring, I guess. That's what I was told. I don't really know what that means, but it obviously just means if the cylinder in the engine can't fire correctly, then it's not going to work correctly. So they needed to be replaced. However, apparently the coil packs that are needed for my car specifically, they were not in stock by the supplier yesterday. And I literally couldn't find a mechanic anywhere within like a 200-mile radius of Ogallala that had a coil pack that would work for my vehicle. The place that there was a coil pack was obviously in Denver. That makes sense because Denver is massive, or bigger than any place I'm in right now. So for me to get a coil pack for my vehicle to make it work appropriately, I would have had to drive like 3 hours yesterday. I would have had to drive 200 miles. And initially I planned on doing that because when I was on the interstate, as I was like exiting into Ogallala to get my car looked at, like my car ran relatively okay at like 60 miles per hour. But after I'd talked to a mechanic in Denver and set up a time to go get my car fixed, as I was like trying to leave Ogallala, my car literally couldn't get above like 30 miles per hour without it giving issues. And as I've driven it around town, there's no chance I was going to make it to Denver. So more or less, because of car issues, I was forced to be in Ogallala yesterday all day. I'm in a hotel right now. Yesterday just sucked. I was sleep deprived. I had to wait a full day. I had to spend money on getting my car, for them to figure out what was wrong with my car. I'm going to have to spend money on it this morning to get it fixed. I had to pay for a hotel. All of these little things that it's like these are all expenses I did not expect to have. I'm not really in a place in my life where I have a ton of cushion with money. Yesterday I was just not in a place to handle all of that well. So what I wanted to go through, what I did go through this morning, is I wrote down some like lessons learned from yesterday, because yesterday was a really shitty day, but it was also a day where a ton can be, like, it's just such a unique day. It was such a random and such a rare day, luckily, that, I was sleep deprived. All the things that felt like they could have gone wrong did go wrong. And it was just like the thing that it was the last thing that I wanted to happen, which was miss out on the first half of snowboarding today because of a car issue. So it's a good opportunity to assess and think about, like, what are some things I can learn from yesterday about things that were helpful and things that were not helpful, and just life lessons in general. So I wanted to walk through those. The first lesson that I have written down is when you can't change the outcome, there's no reason to dwell on the outcome. This is one that I've known for a while, but it's just kind of a reminder. It's kind of like what is in your circle of influence and what is outside of your circle of influence, and whatever is outside of your circle of influence, there's no reason to lose sleep over that. And I did everything that I could to alter my scenario, to find a way to get somebody to fix my vehicle. Um, but even in reality, even if I found somebody that was like in Sydney, Nebraska, that could have fixed my vehicle, or somebody in, you know, Fort Morgan or whatever, someplace close by, I don't think I could have made it anyway, because the outcome, the scenario that I was in was that my car wasn't going to drive that far. There's no way. That would have been so sketchy. So it was one of those things that, like, no matter what I did, I was not going to be able to influence the outcome. So, once I kind of came to that realization, it was good to know, like, okay, this is the decision because there's no other decision that can be made. But after that, like, the best thing to do is to just still not dwell on that. There's no reason to dwell on that because you can't change it. The second lesson I learned, and this is kind of another one, I guess some of these are just like reminders: sleep profoundly impacts how you experience and interact with life. So I got 4 hours of sleep. Uh, not this last night, but the night before, the night leading up to this day, I got 4 hours of sleep, and just like realizing how, in the morning I'm always fresh, but whenever I get a bad night of sleep, the afternoon it's just like not good. So the way that I handled this emotionally in the afternoon was tough. Like, I just was like laying on this bed. Um, I wanted to take a nap, but I couldn't sleep. I was just really kind of pissed off about the situation, felt lonely, felt alone, kind of making everything way worse than it really needed to be, just because of the fact that I was sleep deprived. And it made it easy to succumb to temptation, to porn and masturbation and stuff like that. And it also, I just like was on my bed for like 30 or 45 minutes, just trying to medicate the feelings with like YouTube and all that stuff and porn, and it didn't help. And also, like, work was bad. I just like couldn't focus on work. It was just crazy at how much yesterday I just felt like a shell of myself and just like experienced everything so much more negatively because of my lack of sleep. And part of that was just because, like, I wanted to spend time with my parents that evening and I had to get up super early. But a big ingredient with how shitty yesterday felt was the fact that I was very sleep deprived. The next lesson that I learned, which was something that I kind of alluded to already, and this is kind of a big one. This is maybe more of a new one that I would have known, but just realizing that, yeah, this was something that just really stuck out to me. When you're feeling down, medicating with porn or YouTube only makes things worse. Instead, try to get some sun. Talk through the situation and give yourself something to do. So there's a lot of things here. So obviously the medicating part with porn or YouTube, like that was kind of a given, but it just felt easy and it just felt like the thing that I needed to do in that moment. It was weird how I just like immediately went to those things, but I felt so awful after it. It's just like it was obviously not helping. And the thing that eventually helped me was getting some sun. So opening up this blind to get some sun, that was super helpful because before I had the blind down and I was just in this room and there was no natural light in here. And then talk through the situation. So I prayed about it. I made a video like this to talk through it and just kind of expressed how I felt about the whole situation. And then give yourself something to do. So this is something that I've realized is really helpful and healthy for me. And, since the beginning of this year, writing out my days and having a very solid plan on what's going to happen with the day has always made the day so much better. And whenever, that schedule gets ruined or something goes wrong, to switch it up and I don't have a plan, like, I feel aimless, I feel out of control. And I think maybe it would still be good to learn how to interact with life in a healthy way when I don't have a set schedule. But if I don't have like anything to do, it's weird how difficult it is for me to just like commit to something and do it. I just like, again, default to like laying on the bed and watching a YouTube video. Um, so the fact that I like did all those things, I got some sun, I talked through the situation, and then I just like wrote down what the rest of the day was going to be like. I wrote down what I was going to do, and then I just did that, and that really helped. And it wasn't like it made life great. Like I still don't want to be stranded here in Ogallala, but again, there's nothing I can do about that, and those actions really helped have last night not be the worst thing ever. It was really okay. Another lesson that I learned is sometimes life throws you curveballs you probably could have never avoided. It's cliche to say, but learning to roll with the punches is truly one of the best skills one can learn in life. Um, I've been thinking, is there anything I could have done to avoid this? And I guess I could have taken it to a mechanic like right before, but who knows? Like I took it to a mechanic like a month ago, like really not that long ago. And they didn't catch this issue. I remember Vern talking to me about this issue when I first bought the car, which was like 2021. But I remember having like feeling as if it was misfiring when I first bought the car, but then it like resolved itself. It wasn't an issue ever up until yesterday. So it's like even if I did take it to a mechanic, who knows if they would have been able to find out about it. And like the thing was, is I'd taken it to a mechanic so recently that I was like, there's no reason to take it to a mechanic, you know. So I just don't think there's anything I could have done. And this is the nature of being human and not knowing everything and not being um, omniscient is the word. There's just stuff you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And as a result, there are going to be outcomes or things that happen in life that you could have never seen coming that suck, like yesterday. Um, so, as a result, one of the best things to learn in life is, again, rolling with the punches, just like accepting the reality that you have been given and playing with the hand that you're dealt, right? So, yeah, that was another one. And then finally, God always has a plan. You just need to trust that it's the best one. So when I say God has a plan, that doesn't mean it's a plan that I like in the moment. God's plan yesterday was for me to have my car broken down. And it sucked, but who knows like what it was that like why that was God's plan, but just trusting that he knows what's best and then just trust that, like not needing to know why, the why behind the plan. I would like to know the why, but just knowing that I don't need to know and just having enough trust in him to be like, you know what, God, it's okay. I don't need an explanation. This is what your plan is. I'm good to live with that. That is the concept that I'm pushing forward. Is like it's not going to be easy, but I trust in you. And even if it doesn't make sense to me, that's okay. It's funny. Like Luke 12, God talks about there's a passage where Jesus talks about the futility of being anxious and how he takes care of the ravens and how he clothes the grass in splendor and like if he does those things, how much more will he not take care of you? And I've just been really thinking about that recently, and I've been thinking about it specifically with Ryan because he recently got informed that he wasn't going to get a job that he was super excited about, and it just was like a dagger for all of us, but especially him and Brittany. And just like I was thinking about that passage, it's just like God's got a plan, and even though what happens in the moment sucks, like you just have to trust that He's got a plan. And this is a much lesser version of that, but just trusting that like I don't get this, but just trusting in God and knowing that He has a plan for me. It's about 7:10, and so I'm gonna actually check out of the hotel and take my car to the mechanic, hoping that like my car starts this morning and then everything goes smoothly. And if it doesn't, just learning to roll with that punch.